What is going on, everybody, man? I just finished watching the episode of East Blue. And, it's always amazing to see all of this again, but I don't think from an art and animation standpoint, I don't think I've ever seen the East Blue Saga done that well, bro. The Zorro versus Mihawk scene and the entirety of Arlong Park, the episode of Nami, and that portion of episode of Zorro. I mean, bro, I was mind blown. I was legit like, what am I watching here, man? Is this a movie or is this a special? Like, what? The quality was out of this world. I mean, they poured everything they had into this. Episode of Luffy was really, really well done as well from an animation standpoint. But Zorro versus Mihawk and the entirety of the episode of Nami had me shook in terms of how well done it was from an art and animation standpoint. By the heavens, Gin versus Sanji, Zorro versus Mihawk, Luffy versus Arlong. Absolutely incredible from an art and animation standpoint, man. But, I love the way this thing was structured. Now, this episode of East Blue is not a complete retelling of all of the arcs. Of course, you can't do that in a 2-hour time span to completely get everything from those arcs in a short amount of time span. Like they left out a lot of Bratier, for example. I feel like they did a really good job of balancing out the episode of Luffy was perfect. That was phenomenal. The way that was just adapted from the manga into the anime. Arlong Park, I feel like was really done well as well. And they already have an episode of Nami special. Now they have this as well. So shout out to those guys that make AMVs because they're gonna have a lot of material to work with. The Arlong Park, it was really paced well. Like you could really get emotionally invested and remember why you cared. Episode of Usopp as well, same thing. Except for like the Kuro stuff. If you didn't watch this prior, then you wouldn't really get into it. But I guess what I'm trying to get to at is, they cut out a lot, but they gave us the key scenes really, really well done. Really well done. So even though I would never recommend anyone to do this, let's just say if somebody were to come on here and say, oh, okay, One Piece released an episode of East Blue Special, let me just watch this so I can, know what One Piece is about. And they were to watch the special, and they would know everything that happened from the beginning until Arlong Park. There's no way in the Flying Flag Nerds that I would recommend that. But they did do a great job in the key scenes. Now let's talk about the structure. From a structure standpoint, I love the way they did this. So they started off the episode of East Blue with all of them heading off to Logtown, or heading off after Logtown whenever they sang their dreams. This right here, one of my favorite panels in the entire series. The greatness. Basically right after, like, they all put their feet on the barrel and they're saying, we're heading to the Grand Line. That amazing scene. After that, we go back in time to Romance Dawn. And so we see the episode of Luffy is all of Romance Dawn. Romance Dawn was done so well. I mean, from the PVs, I could tell how good it was going to be from an art and animation standpoint. From the screenshots I was seeing yesterday, posted by Greg and a couple of other people that watched it whenever it was initially shown in Japan. And I was like, man, this looks really, really good. Like, really, really good. Because I've watched a lot of the other One Piece specials, man, but from an art and animation standpoint, I think this tops them all. I really, really do. Well, from animation, I have to think about it. I would have to think about the animation. Even though the animation was really, really good, I'd have to go back and see animation-wise. But from an art standpoint, no. I think that wipes everything that I've seen non-movie related. Non-movie related, this has to be up there. It looked great. It looked amazing. So, episode of Luffy, really well done. It only covered, and I loved how they had the. Well, if you guys have watched it, and if you haven't watched it, then I would highly recommend you go watch it. But every single one of the episodes, because it was split into how it was told through their eyes, and like how we first saw the characters and whatnot. And right before their arc started, or their part started, it was stuff like an episode of Luffy, like Luffy's was in red, and then it's an episode of Luffy on the bottom, and then we will continue on to his part. So Romance Dawn done really well. They extremely well paced. It was like it felt great. You could get emotionally invested, and if anybody was watching that for the first time, they could immediately grasp, okay, this is Luffy. This is why he wants to be the Pirate King. The Shanks scene whenever he uses the Conqueror's Hockey for the first time, it was done really awesome, and I love like the close-up that did on his eye. I prefer the original scene. Maybe it's because of nostalgia, but I still think that scene was done really well. I loved how the blood on both whenever Luffy put the knife in his eye, right to create the scar, and whenever Shanks' arm was cut off. Those two, from a blood standpoint, and the way they animated the blood and showed it, I thought it looked really good. The Shanks scene was really well done. The Shanks giving the hat to Luffy, man. That scene, no matter where you watch it, it's amazing. And in this, in the games, in the anime, in the manga, in the specials, in the original episode of Luffy special, like, it doesn't matter where you experience that moment. It'll always get you to you, man. Really well done in this movie as well, or in the special as well. Just romance done, really well done, really well paced, really good soundtracks, really good soundtrack placement, I should say, and art and animation was out of this world, man. So then from there we went to episode of Zorro. Now my brother, the moment he heard Zorro's voice, he came up in here like swimwear and started watching, man. I was like, my brother's a Zorro fanboy, man. He's joined Zorro fanboy's side of the community, bro. So he comes up in here, man, and he's watching it with me. And we're watching this together, and I'm explaining to him, because, you know, he's watched a majority of, like, the scenes, but I don't think that he ever really watched the Morgan stuff. I mean, and if he has, it's been a long time. So I was watching, and I was explaining to him, like, why this moment is so good for Zorro, like, whenever he takes the food, and he tells Luffy, tell her that it tasted really good, like tell her that it was amazing. And I was telling him like why that scene means so much, and I continued to tell him stuff like that. But you know, he was so intrigued, man. He was like, "Oh, Zorro's a beast, bro." I was like, "I know, man, I know." So, and the Captain Morgan stuff, from an arc standpoint, it is not a good adaptation of the arc, but for what it did in order to telling the story for just Zorro, you know, excluding why we should care about Morgan as an antagonist and why we should care about Helmeppo as an antagonist, and they didn't show the Luffy scene specifically for Kobe whenever he basically allows himself to get hit so that the Marines don't get onto Kobe for being friends with Luffy. I love that scene, but they didn't include that scene in here, so it wasn't an arc retelling. It was just characters. Talking about the initial character moments, the character moments that mean so much more, which is why instead of calling it, you know, the episode of Captain Morgan, or the episode of the Captain Morgan arc, is just the episode of Zorro. Zorro's key moments, the first time we saw him, the that moment I was just talking about, whenever he first gets the 3 swords from Luffy. I love that scene so much, right? He's like, "Hey man, I got all 3 swords. Which one are yours?" He's like, "All 3 are mine." But my favorite part out of this entire portion for the Captain Morgan arc, and the one where I was marking out, my brother is my witness, was that they did the flashbacks in the same manner they did it in the manga. Now, guys, what I love so much about it is that you see the Kuina flashback in here the same way that you saw it in the manga. You get the close-up on his eyes, we see the rest of the flashback. And I love it. I love it because it's that attention to detail, man. The attention to detail. And I'm like, Toei, man, you're going in. So I was really happy about that. By the way, the flashback, from an art and animation standpoint and from a music standpoint, really well done. Really well done for Zorro's flashback. But that was my favorite part of the whole Morgan part of the episode of Zorro. Man, dude, when it went into the flashback, I said, yes! Because I didn't want it to be exactly how it was in the anime, man. I wanted to do it a little bit like how they did in the manga, you know? And I was like, dude, they took that directly from the manga. It felt like they pulled a Dragon Ball FighterZ. You know how Dragon Ball FighterZ takes like scenes from the anime and they just put it in the game? I felt that's what they did. They like took the panel, they took Oda's panel and put it right on the screen and animated him, and it looked amazing. I was like, dude, I was marking out, man. You can ask my brother, dude. I was going crazy. He's like, man, why are you going insane over just going to a flashback? I was like, you don't understand, man. This is the way it's supposed to go. This is the way it went in the manga. So I was just going crazy over that scene, man. So, like, once again, it's not a whole arc retelling, but it is telling you the straight up, or it's showing just the character moments for Zorro, and it's specified on his scenes and everything. So episode of Zorro, really liked it for the first part. Second part, we go to Baratier. Now this is when I noticed that the structure was going to be off. When we went from the Morgan arc to Baratier, I said, oh, so this is what they're doing. They're going to be telling it specifically for the characters in that specific episode. First episode was episode of Luffy. This one's going to be episode of Zorro, and it's going to keep going. So now Zorro's next big moment in East Blue was, of course, in Baratier. Mihawk, bro. I shared so many... I mean, I spammed Twitter while I was watching this because I was just going so crazy over everything. I mean, from an art and animation standpoint, this was glorious. But aside from the Arlong Park stuff, Zorro versus Mihawk is some of the most some of the best art I've ever seen in anything One Piece related. Anything One Piece related. Anything aside from the manga, because that's the original source. Just sticking to anime here. Mihawk looked more real than I do. I was in shock. I was like, holy sweet mother of Flagnars. The entire scene, Zorro versus Mihawk, the guys that make AMVs in this community are going to have a field day with the Zorro versus Mihawk stuff. A field day. They're going to be able to take so many scenes. You know how, I mean, I do this a lot. Go on YouTube, search up like random characters. Let's say I'm like a Zorro mood. I search up Zorro, bro, and you see those nice AMVs, man, and you just click on it and be like, yo, this is Zorro greatness, you know? Whoever decides to do that, makes the next Zorro AMV, is gonna have it. Is gonna love this, bro. He's gonna love this part because everything. No, hold on, shut up. As scars on the back are a swordsman's flippin' shame, bro. That's one of my favorite lines, bro. I'm sorry, I love that line so much. But Zorro versus Mihawk, phenomenal in here. Phenomenal. Just that scene. Just that scene? Ooh. That might be the best part of just that scene. I mean, just that scene. Like, Zorro, you know, declaring that he wants to, that he's never going to lose again. I think that was done better in the original anime because of the score and the music, and it just hit home. And, of course, it was the first time I watched it, but listen, man. Listen. Zorro versus Mihawk, specifically just them, from the moment that he gets there until the end of that fight. You know, excluding that moment I just talked about. That might be the best version to watch that in the anime, period. That right there was incredible, bro. If you haven't seen it yet, you have to believe me, bro. That was so well done. The art had me, like, my jaw was dropped. I was shook. I was like, yo, this looks amazing. The shading, bro. I was like, Mihawk. My brother and I were here. We were just so hyped, bro. Like, what is this greatness, man? So, episode of Zorro ends. We go into the episode of Usopp. I really enjoyed this retelling of Usopp's story here. Mainly, whenever he's going up against, or not when he's going up against, whenever he's talking to Luffy about Usopp. I believe that scene was done really well in here. They nailed some of the comedy moments. The art was incredible for a lot of like the Usopp, Django, and Usopp Kuro stuff. They really nailed the drama and the emotion down there. You couldn't really get emotionally invested, but you already, like I said before, you're seeing it from their eyes. So it's not trying to retell the whole story. It's just trying to, you know, show the really important character moments through for them. So in order to do that for Usopp, man, I think they did a really good job from beginning to the end with Kuro. From a art and animation standpoint, it wasn't as strong as it was like with what I just did with Zorro versus Mihawk or with Arlong Park stuff, but it was still very strong. The art was on point. There was this one specific one whenever he's getting nailed. You know that scene whenever he's just getting nailed by Kuro's army, but he just keeps holding on to them and he's not letting them go. He's like, I will not let you guys reach that village, man. And he has the goggles on, man. The blood's coming down his face. Beautiful. Really well animated scene. Amazing art, and huge props for that scene right there. That scene was really that scene, and then the scene where Django gets wrecked. whenever Zorro cuts the tree and he ducks a little bit, and that's whenever Usopp nails him. That the scene was done really well. Of course, Luffy hitting the Gum Gum Bell was really well done. But yeah, overall the Kuro stuff, it was solid. It lived up to the rest of the film, to the rest of the special. It didn't. It was, so far, it would be like the weakest in terms of art, animation, and score coming together, and like the way that how good it was. It was the weakest, episode of Luffy and Zorro versus Mihawk, man, insane stuff. But it was really, really good. I love Usopp, so for me it was like, let's go, man, let's go. It was really awesome. It reminded me of the greatness. It reminded me of how I first came to love Usopp, and that was really good stuff as well. This entire thing was like a huge nostalgia trip for me. But then after that, after the episode of Usopp, we go to the episode of Sanji. From the moment that the episode of Sanji thing came up, I was already going crazy. I was like, Mr. Prince, let's go. Now, for the first part of the Baratier stuff, I can't lie to you guys, I was a bit disappointed, and because I was in the state of mind that we were gonna see whenever Luffy first met Sanji. And like in the same manner that they showed it for the first time we met Usopp, the first time we met Zorro, first time we met Nami. But for Sanji, even though it started off in a really good spot with Sanji giving Gin the food, and then Luffy telling him that if he wants to join his crew. I thought there was like a massive chunk of Baratier that they missed, and I did not like the way that they came in with Krieg. But once again, it's not a Baratier arc retelling. It's a character moments for Sanji. And for those character moments for Sanji, they nailed it. Flashback, so well done, man. So well done. The Gin versus Sanji, aside from Zorro versus Mihawk, well, no, it's on the same level. It's on the same level as Zorro versus Mihawk and the Arlong Park stuff for me in terms of art and animation in this special. Gin versus Sanji. If someone were to make a GIF of that, I could rewatch that for years. I mean, just straight up, like it was so beast, and I was like, what is this greatness? And I'm not a big fight guy, man. Like, I love my fights, bro. I love my fights, but I'm more in for the story. I'm more in for the adventure. I'm more in for the character moments. But when it just looks that good, I can't help but be like, yo, man, this looks fire. So that was really dope. That was really well done. Let me see. They really nailed the Gin scene. I think they did a really good job there. Luffy and Krieg. That entire, right before they fight and they're just, they're going at it verbally. That was really well done. Really, really well done right there. Once again, Sanji's flashback, and it really nailing the importance of Zeph. Whenever Zeph is talking to Sanji about Luffy, really well done scene in the special as well. It really hit home, man. I'm like, yo, because like even for me, man, while I was watching it, I was like, I've reread and rewatched the series so many times, but just watching that scene again and seeing how Zeph talks about him, the spear of determination takes out any weapons, and it's like, dude, it's legendary. But it reminds me of why you love Luffy so much. But that scene was really well done. Luffy vs. Don Krieg, great stuff. But the final scene was most certainly, just like it is, that's like how it normally is, man. The final scene was Sanji and Zeph stole the show for the episode of Sanji. Holy sweet mother of flag nerds, man. It hit me, bro. It hit me. It always hits me, but it hit me, bro. Ah, man, the way the tears dropped, man. The animation was beautiful, but oh, no, Zeph! I love that scene, man, and the score, dude. I love Through the Grand Line, bro. I can't help it, man. Through the Grand Line's too good. But amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Episode of Sanji. Like I said, at first, because I still had the thing in the back of my mind saying, there's supposed to be a retelling of Baratier. But in actuality, it's supposed to be the character moments for Sanji. And for the character moments for Sanji, it did a great job. Did a great job. Really good stuff. And his moments were nailed. That final scene, so well done, man. So well done. Now, man, this should be expected, bro. This should be expected. I named my Discord chat after it. You guys always hear me talking about it. This is the arc that made me a tard, and this is the arc that I love with all my heart. That there have been so many arcs after this arc, and yet I can't take it out of my top 5 because of just how much it means to me. I've never been able to take it out of my top 5, man. And I apologize for that little thing. My camera ran out of memory. I had to delete some stuff. But this arc to me means the world. The absolute world. This is where One Piece truly, when I first got into One Piece, I was trying to find something that I would love as much as Bleach. And after this, I found something I love even more than Bleach, after Arlong Park. And it always sticks out to me as that arc to me. Arlong Park, man. And I love it so much. So anytime I see any version of this manga, anime, episode of Nami, now here in the episode of East Blue, I always have extremely high expectations for it. And let me tell you something, man. The episode of East Blue did a phenomenal job. Not only as just a retelling for Nami's standpoint, but I could get emotionally... Well, maybe it's because I've reread and rewatched the arc so many times, I could probably read off some lines of dialogue before they actually happen. You know what I mean? So... maybe that's what it is, but I think they did a really good job of retelling Arlong Park as a whole. Let me tell you something right now, man. The Bellemere flashback, even though they didn't have a lot of, the build-up to that scene, the scene itself so hurt, bro. I had a couple tears, man. I was like, oh my gosh, man. I tweeted out, I'm dead on the inside, man. Bellemere. I love Bellemere so much as a character, dude. I love you. I'll never forget, yo. I actually remember two times with the I love you thing. The first time I watched it, where I was empty, bro. But I remember the first time I ever read this when I first bought Volume 9. Which, by the way, I'm such a tard of this stuff. I actually have 2 versions of this. But anyways, Volume 9, when I first read that part, when I first went out and bought the volumes, and I reread the series, and when I reread it, and I got to the I love you panel, I started tearing up again. I'm like, this is manga. This is just a book. Like, how was it supposed to bring out that much emotion on me, even though I already witnessed it, without the music, without the OSTs. But that's just how amazing that moment is, man. That it was able to get to me even while reading it in black and white. That's how powerful, that's how amazing Oda is. And I love that flashback, and they did a really good job. Art and animation, of course, on point, but the music, man. The music, bro. But I can't even begin to explain the Luffy Tasukete, aka Luffy Help Me scene. From an art standpoint, it was more than likely has the best art that I have ever seen for Arlong Park. No question. No question. That scene with Luffy asking Nami for help, art and animation, it destroys the original. The original holds a special place in my heart because it's the original, and of course it'll get me more emotionally invested because that's how I watched it. That's how I originally watched it. But I can't sleep on this one either, man. This one was really, really well done. Really, really well done. Luffy putting the hat on Nami is better in the original, but Luffy putting the hat on Nami here, it didn't have like this because he felt like he just put it on there and he kept walking. And then after that, of course, it got back to the greatness. But whenever he initially put it on her head, it was a bit off, but maybe it's because I'm used to the way that it's done in the original, to where he has it goes to a close up to him, to where he has like the shadow over his eyes, and then he puts the hat on her head. So I prefer like the original there. But before that, in the lead up to that scene with the Arlong, and Luffy Tasukete, oh man, beautiful. Really, really well done in the special. Really, really well done. The way like her tears came out, the way the eyes like swelled up, and the tears began to come out. You're like, this feels so real, bro. Like, what is going on? This is crazy. So, the Help Me scene was done so well, man. Oh man, dude, I was shook, bro. I was shook. And of course we will. They didn't have the walk. I was heated, man. I was like, no, you're not gonna have the walk. So that was a minus. That was a minus. When you don't have the walk to Arlong Park, and I understand that this is more faithful to the manga than the anime. They even changed up one of the things to where it looked exactly like the You Made Our Navigator Cry scene in the manga. I mean, in the original version, it didn't really look like that. In this version, it looked exactly how it did in the manga. The "You Made Our Navigator Cry" panel. Go watch it again, and go look at the panel and at the original "You Made Our Navigator Cry" panel, and it's spot on, really really well done. And I guess maybe that's why, because it was more like to the original source in terms of the scenes they were trying to do. Now, they didn't have the walk to Arlong Park, because I understand it's an anime-only scene, but still, for us, the walk to Arlong Park, man! I was looking forward to hearing Overtaken with that here, but it's okay. It's okay. Which ones are long? To me, the original will always have the impact that to be continued happened after. Like, to me, Arlong Tatera, like whatever he's, which ones are long, and then it says to be continued. Man, I love that. I can hear the sound effect in my head. It's like doom cha. But really well done stuff here. Everyone, and I loved. One thing that I can definitely say about this special when it came to this part is that they blitzed through all of their fights here, except for Luffy versus Arlong. So they blitzed through Usopp, Sanji, and Zorro's fight. But they did it in a way to where the music was building up so well at that point where Luffy goes up in there and he says, which ones are long. From there, like, the music was building up so well. It just had to go at that pace. And, I mean, they took them out so quick, and then it slowed down again. We got back to Nami. Nami's running back to Arlong Park, and now Luffy versus Arlong, and it was just done so well, bro. So well, man. I loved it. Animation was spot on here, dude. It was glorious. I mean, Bobby Roode level glorious. Really, really well done. I mean, when you can remind me, I always say this, when you can remind me why I love something as much as I do, you've done your job. And the episode of Nami did that. Really, really well done. Really well done. From like I said, not even just from Nami's standpoint, from an arc retelling standpoint, it did a pretty damn good job. Man. And then, of course, right after that, we like I said, going back to the structure standpoint of things. So we had the special started off with them saying their dreams on the barrel, heading off to the Grand Line. An episode of Luffy started. Oh, one thing I forgot to talk about in the episode of Luffy. I love this scene. It was whenever Luffy first hits the Gomu Gomu no pistol in present time. And instead of the original music that they used for that scene, they put "We Are," and I was like, "Yo, we are!" So I thought that was a great touch. And then, of course, we have episode Zorro, episode of Usopp, episode of Sanji, episode of Nami, and now it all comes full circle, and we go right back to where the special started, and we get to see them say their dreams once more, but this time the credits are rolling. And then the narrator comes up and says, "This is the great pirate era, man." And now I had so many chills, bro, because "We Are" was playing, and the entire cast was singing "We Are," bro. I had goosebumps from up here to my toe hairs. I mean, listen, man, when the entire cast is singing "We Are," bro, I was marking out. I was singing "We Are." And they showed scenes of Chopper, Robin, Frankie, Brooks, Sabo, Ace. And then the final scene was the OG5, Luffy, Sanji, Zorro, Usopp, and Nami. And I was like, what a way to end the special, man. It had that classic ending it in the same way that it began type of thing, like how most things that I consider to be masterpieces usually have like the type of it ends in the same way it started, and I love how this special did that. End of Evangelion End of Evangelion and Shogun Assassination Arc are like two examples of that kind of stuff, to where like it ends in the same way that it started. And I loved how this special did that. I love the way it was structured, because with the structure, it points to me as a viewer. It's not trying to tell me the story of Arlong Park, of Barati A, of even the entirety of East Blue. It's trying to tell me the story of the individual characters that partook in this journey. And I love that. I love how it specifically said episode of Luffy, episode of Zorro, episode of Nami, episode of Sanji, episode of Usopp. I loved it because, like I said, it told me as a viewer, we're going to be focusing on the characters, not on the arc, the characters. So, episode of East Blue to me, it gets a fantastic sauce. A fantastic sauce. Art and animation, like I said before, some of the best you will ever see, or that you have seen thus far in One Piece. Some of the best you have seen thus far in One Piece. Art and animation standpoint. I mean, amazing. Amazing. Loved a lot of the moments, like I was touching upon before. Zorro versus Mihawk, phenomenal in here. That one specific Usopp scene, really, really good. The entirety of episode versus Luffy, man. Episode Luffy, Romance Dawn. I mean, it's Romance Dawn, man. When Luffy heads out, really good moment in this special. Sanji saying goodbye and the whole Sanji flashback, really well done here as well. And whenever Zeph is telling about Luffy, man, the Spear of Determination, man, really, really good. And it gave me a little bit of chills. And the entirety of episode of Nami, bro. And I'm a tard, sure. I'm an all-along park tard, but you know, when they do it that well, to where I can say that, they got me sold. Episode of Nami, really, really good. And this is, and then just the entire thing coming together it gets a fantastic sauce from me, man. It allowed me to go on this nostalgia trip to where I got so emotionally invested, so hyped, to remind me why I love this series so much, bro. And when it can do that, I think it's done a great job. I think it's done a great job, man. But if you guys have seen the episode of East Blue, let me know what you guys thought about it down below, man. I hope you watched the episode of East Blue if you got this far in the video. If not, I apologize then for my maybe spoiling a couple things. Well, then again, I can't really spoil it with my mouth. You'd probably have to spoil it visually. I would highly recommend watching at least some scenes from this, man. But just honestly, man, if you love East Blue, bro, watch the entire thing. Watch the entire thing, man. It was so good. I really enjoyed myself, man, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see what's next for the One Piece 20th anniversary, bro. This entire One Piece 20th anniversary, this time to be a One Piece fan has been phenomenal. And then they just released a PV for Luffy for I was about to say a spoiler, and I apologize, but for a future moment in One Piece, they just released a PV for it that's gonna happen here in the anime soon. So I was really excited to see that, bro. I was like, yo. But guys, this will be it, man, for this video. My camera keeps running out of memory, so I'm gonna have to end it here. I loved episode of East Blue, man. I just had such a great time watching it, man. Really awesome stuff, yo. One Piece greatness. I'll see you guys in the comment section. Let me know how much you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it as much as me, then bless up, man. Bless up, dude. Awesome sauce, man. I'm about to go rewatch some of these scenes, dude. It was so good, man. It made me proud. It made me proud, dude. So good, so good.